But I have come across one Vice Chancellor but I have come across who is a student, who is a teacher, who is a man of concern for the subject, and is an humble servant. I'm very happy he is occupied the right post and he has delivered already a lot of goods. Let God give him more strength and serve the community here, academic community, even more. Thank you, sir. I've been asked to talk about moral values or values as such of the Constitution of India. It's a very difficult topic. All of us want to have good values, sustainable values, precious values in life. And we want the Constitution to enunciate them, protect them, and help us implement them. There's no doubt about it. There are no two opinions about it. But my problem is, as a student, basically I'm a student of physics and mathematics. Somehow I switched over to political science later on. But my mind or mindset is still that of a science student. I want to have scientific investigation. Now, when you speak of values of the Constitution, actually I want to ask a question. What do you mean by values? What do you mean by Constitution? My professor, I told you earlier, taught us when we went to do PhD to Delhi. Before you open your mouth, define your meaning of words. Just don't take it for granted and go on speaking without knowing the basic terms which you are using. Like Constitution. What is Constitution? Is this Constitution? No. Because it can be interpreted in 100 ways. What are the lawyers meant for? To interpret it or misinterpret it? What are the values? Do you know what are the values? We don't know. If we had all agreed on values, there would not have been no Hindu, Muslim, Christian communities, conflicts, Lingayats, Gaudas, scheduled castes. There would be no problems. If all of us agree what is a value in life or values in social life, we don't know because we interpret it differently. So taken for granted there should be values, taken for granted that there is a constitution book, we think we know everything and then start speaking. But my doubts arise right from the beginning. I don't know what are the values, I don't know what is the constitution. Let me tell you frankly, constitution is not a PhD thesis. There is no definite framework. There is no proper analyzing and reasoning. There is no proper connection. There is no correct inference or conclusion. Conclusion is never there in the Constitution. A PhD thesis requires all these things. You must state your objectives, your methodology, your what you call facts, empirical evidences, and apply logic, make analysis, and come to possible conclusion or hypothesis. Then it is a PhD thesis. Constitution of any country, any time is never a thesis, never a PhD thesis. What is it then? I have studied French and American constitutions, and all of you must have studied English constitution, so-called. All these show that constitution is not. What is it then? It is compromises. It is a political compromise. If I tell you how, it will take more time. The Americans believe that they have drafted a parliamentary constitution. This is on record. Interviews have been taken of those people who framed the constitution. What sort of constitution have you prepared? Adams and Smith and others, Jefferson. They said we have drafted a British-like parliamentary system for us. But does it ever work? Has it ever worked as a parliamentary constitution? No. Why? A great man, he was 7 foot tall, 200 kilo weight man, great leader, father of the nation, George Washington. He was general who led the American War of Independence and defeated the British. He became the first president of America. Lo and behold, he became the Constitution of America. Whatever he wanted, whatever he said, whatever he wished, that was the law. That was the Constitution. Nobody had the courage or intellect to challenge him. And that gentleman carried on for 2 terms. So what he did never was questioned by anybody, parliament, that is the Congress or party or generals or public, nobody. The man who succeeded him also was of equal weight, equal stature, equally respected statesman. So these 2 gentlemen set the journey of the American Constitution by becoming the center of gravity of the Constitution. So people forgot what the Constitution meant, what the Constitution said, but they followed what George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Adams had done and said. Lo and behold, in France also similar story occurs. In 1956, several constitutions had been set and they failed, and 56 another constitution making committee was appointed and it gave a report. It took about 1.5 years to prepare it. And then the man in charge of it was asked the question ultimately, what sort of a constitution you have given to us, France? He said, we have given a parliamentary constitution. But again the same story repeats. A great gentleman, general, who led France to victory in Second World War, and a powerful man and self-centered man, he would always say, I, he would never say I, he would say, France speaks. France decides. France negotiates with American president. He said, I am president of France. No, I. General de Gaulle was his name. And he ruled for 7 to 9 years. And whatever he said, what constitution for France? Not what the man in charge of drafting the constitution said that we have prepared a parliamentary constitution. So also our story. If Jawaharlal Nehru had become president of India rather than prime minister, it would have been similar story like in America or France. But rightly or wrongly, we have a different idea. We drafted new constitution. You'd be surprised to know. Somebody may be shocked and angry. What Dr. Ambedkar had said in his last book, one of the last books, he wrote it in 47, I think. States and Minorities in India. That was the title of his last political book. In that book, Baba Saheb Ambedkar writes clearly and forcefully, we do not need a new constitution for India. If a new constitution had to be written now, after gaining freedom from the British rule, I am sure it will be dominated by the interests of the feudal lords and communal leaders. Continue to be suppressed and oppressed more. If a new constitution were to be attempted, this will be sanctified in that new constitution. Therefore, I for one would prefer to have 1935 Government of India Act, that was the current constitution of India, to continue with necessary changes here and there, dictated by circumstances. Otherwise, 1935 constitution is the best constitution to govern India and safeguard the interests of the oppressed and suppressed people, and a new India can be created from out of it. This was Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Later on, when the draft constitution was made ready, February 48, the elitist club in Delhi, called Gymkhana Club Delhi, invited him, honored him, toasted dinner, praising his contribution regarding making the constitution draft ready. When his turn came, Baba Saheb said, I have not written the constitution. Don't be under the wrong impression. Out of 315 provisions of the Government of India Act 1935, that's the prevalent constitution, I have taken 250 provisions straight and put them in the draft. Remaining 65 or 70 are drafted by our committee, and these include fundamental rights, because that is not there 35 Act. Directive principles, they were not there earlier. Citizenship rights, they were not there earlier. So some such things have been written by us. Otherwise, 80 to 85% of the text of the Constitution of India approved by the Constituent Assembly, that is taken from the prevalent British given Constitution to India. This is what Baba Sahib said, not I. Then there was some proposal. Let us not be serious about drafting the Constitution. That was a very wise apprehension. Nobody was sure how long India's independence will continue or India's freedom will last. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel said, I am not sure if this India continues for some more time or not, because of partition of India. Vallabhbhai Patel was totally opposed to partition up till then. But now he said, if there are to be two divisions only, let there be two divisions. But there should not be 3 divisions, 4 divisions, 8 divisions, 12 divisions. I can't tolerate that. So it is all right if India is divided into 2. I agree. But we should ensure that India is not further divided. And how to do that? Let us keep the Constitution as it is today. If we call an assembly of 300 people from all over India, put the questions before them, what sort of framework we should have, should it be presidential, should it be parliamentary, should it be syndicate, what language should be the official language, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, what should be the religious doctrine, secular, Hindu, partial Muslim, what? Should there be federalism with center strong or state strong? If you pose these questions, 350 people coming from all over India will start fighting with fisticuffs and maybe swords. There will be no constitution. Like it happened in Pakistan. Pakistan and India were governed by the same Government of India Act 1935. We ended it by 1949. Pakistan continued to have that constitution up till 1956. When Ayub Khan took over and started his own regime, they were bound by that because they were divided among themselves. Even though they were all Muslims, they were fighting each other. Provincial interests, sect interests. You may be surprised to hear that in 1955 there took place riots in Pakistan, Western Pakistan. They called it communal riots in Pakistan. Hundreds of lives were lost, property was burnt. So Ayub Khan government appointed a committee consisting of the Chief Justice of Pakistan Supreme Court, Justice Munir. He submitted a report in which he says there are 73 sects among the Muslims, according to which every other sect is non-Muslim and his own sect is Muslim, Jadid. The punishment for being fake Muslim is death by stoning. This is Justice Munir's report in 1955-56 in Pakistan. So Shia Sunnis fighting was termed as communal riots in Pakistan. What would have happened in India? So we took the right step, according to Ambedkar later on, to keep 1935 Government of India Act Constitution intact, make some modification here and there as required. Otherwise, we had solemn faith and trust in the wisdom and architecture of the British given Constitution to India, 1935 Government of India Act. There are other factors as well. No sooner we got independence did the Kashmir war start. We got independence 47 August. So 47 October, Deepavali Day, Pakistani supported invasion took place in Kashmir and India-Pakistan war started. Now how can you sit in an air-conditioned hall, 350 people making efforts to draft a new constitution for a new India when war is going on? Even when you are sitting in Delhi, Maulankar Hall, Through the windows you were hearing bachao, 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 because Muslims were being murdered by Hindus, Hindus being murdered and raped by Muslims. There were thousands and thousands of refugees living in tents, living on the streets. They are all around. And you are drafting the new constitution for a new India. Is it wisdom? Then there were princes, my God, how many? More than 300. They were encouraged to declare independence on their own and not be part of India. Some of them wanted to be part of Pakistan, including Jaipur and Bhopal Nawabs. Nizam was encouraged by Portugal of all countries to declare independence and apply for membership of the United Nations General Assembly as an independent state. British envoy was taking money and gold from Nizam to plead his case in the United Nations as an independent nation. So, looking at this ghastly picture, can anybody but a fool imagine that we can prepare a new constitution for a new India with the new values, new framework? So, Pandit Nehru, Vallabhbhai Patel and Ambedkar thought it wise, forget about drafting a new constitution altogether. It will lead to chaos and violence. The best thing is, you and me have been ministers. Prime Minister Nehru became first member of the Viceroy's Council, equivalent to Prime Ministership. When? 1946 September. So, and his cabinet also was formed. Sardar Patel was Deputy Prime Minister. Ambedkar was Law Minister and Parliamentary Affairs Minister. Rajendra Prasad was Agriculture Minister. So, all these leaders had occupied positions of power and influence and run the country from 46th September up to 49, 50. They didn't want to be unseated. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So,
ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಜರಿದ್ದ ಯಶಸ್ವಿಗೊಳಿಸಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
By and large, it was agreed not to make a foolish effort, but to be pragmatic, realistic. Not to be foolish, but to be pragmatic and forget the idea of drafting an altogether new constitution for governing new India, but continue with 1935 existing Government of India Act 1935 as the basis of governance, with certain modifications as necessary. You will be surprised to know who were the members of the Constituent Assembly. Perhaps it is travesty of truth, it is not honest, to say that we, the people of India, pass this constitution, adopt this constitution. No. We, the people, were not there. Who were the members of the Constituent Assembly? They were elected from states, provinces. The state provinces elections were held in 1946 July, soon after the Second World War ended, and December 1946. From different provinces, these members were elected. That is indirect election, like we elected today Rajya Sabha members. And they were elected on party basis in 1946 July and December. And along with these elected ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿ, ನನಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವುದು ಬೇಕು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಆದರೆ ನನ್ನ ಫ್ಲೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅದು ಹೊರಟೋಗುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲ, ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಕೈ ಹೇಳಿ. 1946 July, 1946 December, provincial legislature elections were conducted within about 10 years, because before that there was Second World War, during which time the elections were not held. Once the war ended, elections were conducted to the provincial legislature, and from provincial legislature members, the council assembly members were elected. Along with these elected members, the guys, whether it is Mysore or Baroda or Hyderabad, Nizam or Jaipur, so on and so forth, big and small, more than 300 and odd princely states, they were authorized to nominate their own representatives to Constituent Assembly. In all, how many were there? 389. Please bear this number in mind. Out of 389 members, 296, nearly 300, were elected. 93, nearly 100, were nominated, mostly by princely states. Together they were 389. Out of these 389, more interestingly, 205 were congressmen. How many? 205 congressmen. 73 Muslim League members. They were elected to the Constituent Assembly, but before the Constituent Assembly could meet and start proceedings, the Muslim Leagues, Muhammad Ali Jinnah cautioned the Muslim League representatives in the Constituent Assembly, Hushar, I'll break your legs. Freedom will be snatched. Their property will be snatched by Nehru's government or Vallabhbhai Patel government. So why should they participate? They remained aloof. Most of the princely states didn't take interest, didn't attend Constituent Assembly. Then what do you get? By conclusion, only the Congress members attended, with few others. Who are these few others who attended? There are 15 Muslim League members who could not go to Pakistan because they were from Indian territory here. 4 were Akali members, 4 were independents, 17 were other unknown party members. So 160 to 161 were total number of members who were active in the Constituent Assembly debates and signed up the document at the end. So 120 congressmen out of 160 total members. Please remember it, 120 congressmen out of total 160. Of the remaining 40 also, there were many who were sympathetic to Nehru and Congress. So what was the representation of Nehru type or Nehru liking or Congress liking members? 90%. 90% of the members of the Constituent Assembly were either congressmen themselves or sympathetic to Congress and Nehru. So 90% of the Constituent Assembly members drafted this constitution and signed it up. And out of this, if you want to have details of communities which they represented, that's also available. Out of 160, 122 were Hindus, 55 Brahmins, 17 Kshatriyas, 5 Rajputs, 3 Marathas, 5 Marwadis, 3 Khatris, 3 Thakur, Lingayat and Bhumihars, 6 Vaish, 23 non-Brahmin Hindus, 1 Jain, 1 Brahmo. So 122 were Hindu side, more or less, and others, Muslims 18, Christian 3, Jain and Buddhist, Brahmo 2, Sikhs 7, Parsi 2, Anglo-Indian 1, SC/ST 7 out of the total counted assembly members. So who made the constitution? You can say the Hindus, who were 122 out of 160, and 90% of the total members being congressmen themselves directly or sympathetic to Congress and Nehru. So 90% people were in one voice, and among the 10% they didn't oppose it directly, they kept quiet. So one can say that there has been no new attempt to make a fresh constitution for India in 1948-49. Dr. Ambedkar himself was happy with that. He advocated, as I told you a few minutes earlier, that if a new constitution were to be written, it would be anti-SC, anti-ST, anti-oppressed, because the dominant groups will eat them up. But that didn't happen, because 1935 constitution was adopted in governance. So you have, instead of Governor General, President, instead of first member of the Viceroy's Council, you have Prime Minister, you have the same Parliament as it was Federal Assembly earlier, you have provincial assemblies, you have 3 lists of subjects, central, provincial and concurrent, as it was in 1935 Constitution. You mention anything, it was there in 1935 Government of India Act. So one can say it was good, because if you had started writing a fresh constitution, all communal elements and Pakistan, India war and threat of secession from Prince's side, all that would have created hell of time in India. There would have been nothing but chaos, and Vallabhbhai Patel thought that best to keep this one India together as one unit, not allow further divisions. So it was practical, pragmatic decision not to write a new constitution, but keep going with the correct one. That is one. When you come to values, constitutional values, Baba Sahib Ambedkar makes a famous statement, which is a little puzzling. Famous because it contains wisdom. Ambedkar was a well-read scholar, not only scholar but also practical leader who understood reality on the ground. He told Constituent Assembly, you have today before you finalized draft constitution for approval, but in that constitution draft you have given new values: freedom of liberty, thought, expression, etc. You have given right to equality, low or high or rich or poor, whatever caste, whatever religion, all are equal before law. That is the value enshrined in the constitution, which was not there earlier in any constitution of India. And thirdly, fraternity and social justice. These were not there earlier. These are the social values or constitutional values given by Ambedkar and Nehru and the Congress through the constitutional draft, constitutional text. Now the same Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar makes a puzzling remark towards the end of the deliberations in November 1949, where he says, he warns us, Indians. Now this appears to be a democratic surface. That is, on the face of it, it looks like democratic. One man, one vote, one value, social justice, liberty, all these are nice rhetoric promises. On surface it looks like very decent, very understandable, laudable values. But in India, you have subsoil, which is full of contradictions, hierarchy, feudal lordship, and certain Manusmriti mentality. Subsoil is going to shake the earth later on. We shouldn't allow it. The one values which are apparent on the surface, which we have given through the constitution, liberty, equality, social justice, fraternity, they should be practiced. They should be implemented through laws and through governance. If you don't do that, I'm afraid India will lose its freedom once again. It's not the first time that we had lost freedom and regained it. We have lost it several times in our history because of the lack of these values. Social justice, fraternity, equality, these were not given to the people, therefore there were so many revolutions and torpedoing of the governance of that time. But now we have given all these new values, these must be cultivated, implemented, otherwise the subsoil, whatever, volcano will overthrow the democratic principles, democratic framework that you have given in the preamble of the Constitution. This is Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar's wisdom. He was absolutely right. But then, once again, applying scientific approach, you ask, what is meant by liberty? You are given liberty. Liberty can be misused. You have seen in the recent past what has happened. What was his name? Wretched fellow's name. Let us not take it. He said, how long can I enjoy my father and mother having sex? I must join it and be with it. That's what he says on television or on what you call your social media. He says, I have liberty to say what I feel like. I have liberty, freedom of expression. Some others also say something else. Kill Hindus, kill Muslims. They say, we have liberty. Can you accept that kind of argument? Equality. Where is equality? We all agree equality is a beautiful, grand concept. We want equality because there is a lot of inequality today. We should go. People should be equal. But what do you mean by equality? I'll tell you a story. 5 minutes it takes, but it is eye-opener. When I was studying a lot of years ago, this was told. In Bihar, a woman was a poor, wretched woman was caught stealing fistful of rice from landlord's house. In landlord's house, you have 30, 40, 50 women coming and segregating chaff from the grain or separating grains, and as wages they are given 1 or 2 fistful of rice or paddy. But this woman has managed to steal 1 or 2 fistful grains and put it in a sari. And landlord men caught her, beat her up, lodged a police complaint. Police came, searched her body, and there was excess of 2 fistful grains. She was beaten up and put in jail. In Bihar Raj, feudal law, policeman, lawyer, and judge, all of them belong to the same category. In Bihar especially, as in Pakistan, landlords' estates, they are the lords, gods. This woman, for the fault or crime of stealing 2 fistful rice, because she is poor, she has to feed her family, she took it, she pleaded innocently, yes I did it, but then what can I do? And she was put in prison. At that time she was pregnant, she delivered a baby girl. This baby girl matured, she still was in jail, 18 years old girl who was born in hospital of the jail, never stepped outside the compound of the jail for 18 years. She never knew what the world is like. What is road like, street like, bus like, man, woman, school, nothing. This 18-year-old girl born and brought up in jail premises. Then one conscience-ridden man, lawyer, filed a petition with the court. Sir, for the fault of stealing 2 fistful grains, this woman is in jail for 18, 19 years. No inquiry has taken place. No FIR is written. No charges are leveled. No trial has taken place. Even if it is true she has stolen, she should be in prison for 3 days, 5 days, 1 week, 2 weeks. She is 18, 19 years in jail. Then That judge was convinced it is wrong, not justice. So he issued an order asking a policeman to come and give him explanation why she was put in jail, why she was not put on trial. Investigation, why was it not conducted? The policeman gave a very nice, convincing, bureaucratic reply. Sir, we are 1800 per person. There are 5,000 complaints. We have not enough policemen to investigate. So you appoint more policemen, then we will investigate. Then somebody asked the judge, why you kept quiet all these years? Judge gave again once again beautiful bureaucratic reply. So it was never brought up before me. How can I try? So in this system, if you say all are equal before law, does it convince you? Is it Siddaramaiah or Lalu Prasad, Jayalalitha or Jharkhand Mukti Morcha's leader or our great leader Kejriwal, Vijay Mallya, 3,500 crores of rupees he has treated State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank. They appoint a Supreme Court lawyer, pay him couple of crores of rupees. Abhishek Manu Singh comes from Delhi and appears before Justice Prasanna, and Siddaramaiah wins the case. But this wretched woman, poor woman, unfortunate woman, only 2 fistfuls of grains, she is in jail for 18 years. Now people, will you convince your students that our constitution gives equality before law, equal protection of laws? Where is equality? Who is afraid of prison? Who is afraid of judges and lawyers? You pay money, crores of rupees to 1, 2, 3 senior most advocates of Supreme Court, they will get whatever you want. Whereas poor Boregoda or his wife Boramma or little uncared for 20% of the population, they don't know what is lawyer, what are his fees, how to pay. How can you manage? Still you say, we have given Article 14, equality before law. Who is convinced? Social justice. Okay, we want social justice. But is the social justice really done? All these agitations, Madhigas, what are the others? Edagai, Balagai, they should get sub-reservations, sub-reservations. What does it indicate? That social justice is not as simple as you speak. Social justice must reach the last man, Antyodaya, of which Gandhi expounded. Now, there is no social justice, there is no equality, misuse of liberty takes place, fraternity is missing. Then what are the social values that we have been told to inculcate through the Constitution? On the face of it, beautiful, excellent. But below that, all these ugly realities are there. So therefore, constitutional values are important. Hats off, applaud, vote for them, yes. But then when it comes to implementation or observance of these values, we go wrong. Because there are senior advocates, Supreme Court. Supreme Court nowadays pokes its nose into every affair, everything. I will not go into that, it took time. So, the poor man, the poor woman feels the same way as she or he used to feel earlier. There are rich men who can do anything and get away, whether gold smuggling, land grabbing, or cheating the people through various frauds. They are not afraid of our constitutions. Whereas the poor people are afraid of policemen. Poor people are afraid of the lawyers. They don't know how to approach the court. So this is a reality, ugly reality. Over the head of it, there is a beautiful picture. Therefore, we as students of politics have to understand the thesis and antithesis, of prevalence of contradictions in our political system, in our society. Let us not be misled by the rhetoric of the front page preamble. We the people of India. I told you, these representatives were elected by the provincial assemblies. As a voter, to cast a vote in the provincial legislative elections, there were conditions. Not everybody was a voter in India. Only those who were in government service, those who were lawyers, those who were payers of property tax, and such people who had huge property, landlords, they alone had their voting right. At that point of time, 29% of the total population of India were voters. 29%. Of them, only 18% voted. Everybody didn't vote. Only 18% of these 29% voted. So, who were the people who passed the constitution? 18% of the 29% of India's population voted, saying, we the people of India. Who were these we the people? Nehru, Patel, Ambedkar. Without these three, there was no important person who had a voice in deciding what is right and what is wrong. President K.R. Narayanan, when Atal Vajpayee was Prime Minister, he spoke in the parliamentary session. President Narayanan, he said, the Constitution has not failed us. We have failed the Constitution. It is a great remark, wise remark, so-called headlines remark. But who are these? We the people who failed the Constitution? The clever fellow, he didn't elaborate. Who are the we? People of India. How we can fail the Constitution? Who were the people? Who were rulers of the country for the last 60, 70 years? The rulers, whatever they are, they were the rulers continuously for 60, 70 years. They failed the Constitution. We means here, the rulers of the country failed. But K.R. Narayanan was very clever. He didn't identify them as rulers of the country, but we failed the Constitution. So we have got clever politicians who say one thing and mean another. Therefore, my dear friends, I will not speak further. I can go on and on for 3 hours. That's not good for you or for me. So I will conclude that social values or constitutional values are wonderful, cherishable, good, laudable. Yes, I agree. But then their implementation is not satisfactory. And in fact, opposite of it often happens. Therefore, we have to see whether the Constitution can be looked at again. Here, when it comes to social values, in the Constituent Assembly, 2 people were very vociferous, H.K. Kamath and Professor Shah. When the preamble came for discussion, these gentlemen, Professor Shah especially, said socialist and secular words are missing. Baba Sahib Ambedkar ji, in the preamble they are missing. Therefore, I move an amendment to include socialist and secular phrases or words into the preamble. This is my move for amendment. Look at Ambedkar's reply. He said, Mr. Vice President, sir, I regret that I cannot accept the amendment of Professor K.T. Shah. My objections stated are here. Constitution is not merely a document. Mechanism, I made before the House, that is, Constitution is merely a mechanism for the purpose of regulating the work of the various organs of the state. Constitution is a mechanism to organize various organs of the state government, state. It is not a mechanism whereby particular members or particular parties are installed in office. What should be the policy of the state, how the society should be organized in the social and economic sides are matters which must be decided by the people themselves according to the circumstances and time. It cannot be laid down in the Constitution itself because that is destroying democracy altogether. If you state in the Constitution that the social organization of the state shall take a particular form, you are, in my judgment, taking away the liberty of the people to decide what should be a social organization in which they wish to live. It is perfectly possible today that majority of people hold socialist organization of society is better than the capital organization of society. But it would be perfectly possible for thinking people to decide some other form of social organism later on, better socialist organization, not as much as they think today. And he says, today or of tomorrow they may come to different judgment. I do not see that, therefore, why constitution should tie down the people to live in a particular form, not leave it to the people to decide it for themselves later on. This is my one reason. And Kamal also says same thing. Ask for the socialist, secular world to be included. Ambedkar says the same thing. Nehru had understood the difficulty defining what one means by secular. Therefore, ultimately, Ambedkar opposes introduction of secular and socialist principles in the preamble, saying constitution is a mere mechanism for organizing organs of the state and not codify or worship certain ideologies. That's left to the people. And Nehru says, a constitution which is unchanging and static, it does not matter how good it is, how perfect it is a constitution that has passed its use. It is in its old age already and gradually approaching its death. A constitution to be living must be growing, must be adaptable, must be flexible, must be changeable on society. As society changes, as conditions change, we must change and amend the constitution constantly. So, my dear friends, constitution is not a static document, not binding everybody alike, because there are various interpretations. Changing times are there, conditions are changing, therefore it is only a mechanism. And this mechanism needs to be improved every decade. In fact, there was a provision in the original draft of the Constitution to conduct periodic review of the Constitution. But then it is forgotten. Therefore, I conclude my presentation as such. I am open to answering a few questions, time permitting. Thank you. Thank you everybody here for coming.
ಪೂಜ್ಯ ಗುರುಗಳಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಪಾಟೀಲ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಂವಿಧಾನದ ಒಂದು ಬೆಳೆದು ಬಂದ ರೀತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಮೌಲ್ಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಂಕ್ಷಿಪ್ತವಾಗಿ ವಿವರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಒಂದು ಸಾಗರ, ಅದನ್ನು ಒಂದೇ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಇಷ್ಟನ್ನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಿನಿಮೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕ್ರೋಢೀಕರಿಸಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊತಾ, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಕೂಡ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಸರ್ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಇದು ಒಂದು 5 ನಿಮಿಷಗಳ ಕಾಲ ಚರ್ಚೆಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಇದೆ. ಅದಾದ ನಂತರ ಬಸವರಾಜ್ ಸರ್ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತೀನಿ. ಕೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಕೇಳಿ.
ಮಂಜುನಾಥ PL, ನೀವು ಅವಾಗಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಬಗ್ಗೆ. 1935 ಆಕ್ಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಹೊಸದಾಗಿ ಅಂಬೇಡ್ಕರ್ ಡ್ರಾಫ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಕಮಿಟಿ ಚೇರ್ಮನ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸ್ ಏನು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೇವಲ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಹೊಸ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊದಲನೇದು ಫಂಡಮೆಂಟಲ್ ರೈಟ್ಸು, ಎರಡನೇದು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಪ್ರಿನ್ಸಿಪಲ್ಸು, ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟು ಸಿಟಿಜನ್ಶಿಪ್, ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಹಾಗಾದರೆ ನೀವೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಸೆಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್ ಮೆಂಬರ್ಸು 2 years 11 months 18 days ಹಾರ್ಡ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇಡೀ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಓದ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ವಿ. ನೀವು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ 1935 ಆ್ಯಕ್ಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್ನವ್ರು ಏನು ಆ್ಯಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅದಷ್ಟೇ ಇದೆ, ಮಿಕ್ಕಿದ ಕೆಲವುದನ್ನು ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೇರಿಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದನ್ನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ?
ಸಂಕ್ಷಿಪ್ತವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನಾವು ಲೆಕ್ಚರರ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ದಿನ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ? 5 ವರ್ಷ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. 5 ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ 165 ಮಲ್ಟಿಪ್ಲೈ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗುತ್ತೆ? 2000 10 ದಿನ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡಿದಿಲ್ಲ. ಈಗಿನ ಪದ್ಧತಿ ನಾವು ಇದ್ದಾಗ ವರ್ಷದಲ್ಲಿ 5 ತಿಂಗಳು ವೆಕೇಶನ್, ಸಮ್ಮರ್ ವೆಕೇಶನ್, ಇದಾದರೆ ಒಂದು 12 ತಿಂಗಳಲ್ಲ 6 ತಿಂಗಳು ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ನಾನು ಹೇಳೋದು ಪ್ರತಾಪ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ಕೈಲಾಲ್ ಪಂಜಾಬ್ ಚೀಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್ ಇದ್ದಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಡೆಲಿಗೇಷನ್ ಹೋಗಿ ಸರ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಬಳ ಭಾಳ ಕಮ್ಮಿದೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಪ್ರತಾಪ್ ಸಿಂಗ್ ಕೈರಾಮ್ ಹೂ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಮೈಟಿ ರೂಲರ್ ಆಫ್ ಓಲ್ಡ್ ಪಂಜಾಬ್. ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಹೋಗಿ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಬಳ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಮಾಡಿ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರು. ಆತ ನೋಡಿ ಚರ್ಚೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ, ಇವತ್ತು ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ, ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆ, ನಾನು ಭಾಷಣ ಮಾಡಿದ ನೀವು ಬನ್ನಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್. ಇವರು ಸರಿ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೀಚರ್ಸು ಗ್ಯಾದರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದ್ರಂತೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಷಣ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಭಾಷಣ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಚೀಫ್ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟರ್. ಮಾಡಿದ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಅವರೇ ಬಾತ್ ಹೇಳಿ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ आए हुए हैं, ये कहते हैं कि वोट में ध्यान करना चाहिए। एक बात बता दो आपको, ये टीचर्स आए ना सारे लोग, उनके लिए साल में कितने महीने होते पता है? आपके लिए तो 12 महीने होते हुए, इनका 12 महीने में 6 महीने होते हैं एक साल में। महीने में कितने दिन होते हैं पता है? कितने दिन होते हैं महीने में? 30 नहीं होते इनके लिए, टीचर्स के लिए 15 दिन होते हैं। दिन में कितने घंटे काम करते हैं पता है? 8 घंटे नहीं, 4 घंटे करते हैं। घंटे में मिनट्स कितने रहते हैं पता है? 60 नहीं, 30 मिनट होते हैं घंटे में। सर ज्यादा चाहिए दे दो, क्या बुढ़ो बुढ़े टीचर्स ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾನ್ಫರೆನ್ಸ್ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಮುಗಿಸಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಖಬಾರಗಳು ದೊಡ್ಡವರು ಎಲ್ಲ ಸರಿ. ಆಲ್ ದ ಡಿಸಿಪ್ಲಿನ್ members of the Congress party, thanks to Nehru and Patel. ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಹೇಳೋದು ಹಾಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಂತಾರೆ. ಈಗ ಬಂದಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಈಗಿಂತ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್. ಆ ಹೈಕಮಾಂಡ್ ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಲು ಕೂಡೋದು ಬಾಯಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಲು ಕೂರ್ತಿ, ಕೈ ಇದ್ದರೆ ಕೈ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಹೇಳಿ ವಾಟ್ ನೆಹರು, ಪಟೇಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರಾಜೇಂದ್ರ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಹಾಫ್ ದಿ ರೆಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಟಿವ್ ಬಿಹಾರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ನಾರ್ದರ್ನ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಅಂತ. So 2.5 constituted high command of the Constituent Assembly. Whatever they decided, that was just naam ke vaste opening remark and some amendment, some form of discussion would take place on the floor of the house, but ultimately the high command ka aadesh hai वही चलता. Poor Professor Ambedkar, he had no liberty to introduce his own ideas into the Constitution. He raised the right point. He has written a book, States and Minorities in India. In that he said, if I were to draft the Constitution, be careful, I would make the right to land fundamental right. All the peasants, farmers, they don't own the land. They are workers on the land, peasants. So I would make right to property, right to land, a fundamental right. If I were to write the Constitution, I would guarantee work for everybody. But he had no say. The say was of these 2.5. And it was not a time for quarreling. They were statesmen, all of them. As I told you, war, threats of secession, further division of India, Kashmir war, and Batwara, military was being divided, police force was being divided, civil services were being divided, Pakistan and India. Who takes care of it? If you go on deciding according to your own perspective, your own ego, there will be no country left. Therefore, Ambedkar also realized it. So, it's not a story, it's a fact which has happened. Therefore, what mistake we do is go back, written books, so and so in his book has written that these members work very hard, as you said, for 2 years, 11 months, 21 days. So that comes to 1,015 days. Actually, cutting off all these, session starts from 7th October to 19th October. Session is over. Then after 3 months, it again means second session. So between the end of the first and beginning of second, there are 3 months gone. If you calculate, they work only for 5 months. How many? 5 months whole year. So I don't want to go into that. I had brought all the figures. If you question, I must be ready to fire. But it will take time. So you get the meaning. As you lecturers say, I have taught for 15 years. Fortunately, you have taught for 150 days also. The constituency members also say, we worked hard for 3 years, they worked only for 5 years.
Okay. Then enabling.
Hello sir, 2 questions is there sir. First one is sir, 2 questions is there sir. So number 1, what is the use of nota and explain and explain to change of the constitution. Change of the constitution. ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ explain ಮಾಡಿ.
ಅದೇ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲಪ್ಪ, ಸಂವಿಧಾನ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಆದರೆ
ಬಟ್ ಸಂವಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ವಿಚಾರ, ತಿದ್ದುಪಡಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಇದೆ, ಬಟ್ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತವಾಗಿ ಇದು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನೋಟ ಬಗ್ಗೆ 2 ವಿಷಯ.
ನೋಟ ಅಂದರೆ ಅದೇನೋ ಉಪಯೋಗದ ಮಾತು. ನೋಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್. ಈಗ 7 10 ಜನ ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಿಡೇಟ್ಸ್ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಯಾರಿಗೆ ವೋಟ್ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕಲಿಗಳು, ಒಬ್ಬರು ಲಾಯಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ, ವಿದ್ಯಾವಂತರಿಲ್ಲ, ಆನೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಸೋಷಿಯಲ್ ಸರ್ವಿಸ್ ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್, ಗೂಂಡಾಗಳು, ಜೈಲ್ ಹೋದವರು, ಹದಿಗಳು, ಏನೇನು 7th ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಪಾಸು 8th ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡರ್ಡ್ ಫೇಲು ಇಂಥವ್ರು ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಇವರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರು ಆರಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊಂದಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಯು ಡೋಂಟ್ ವಾಂಟ್ ಎನಿ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಮ್ ಇಲೆಕ್ಟೆಡ್. ಅವಾಗ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ನೀವು? ಕಷ್ಟಪಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗಿರ್ತೀರ, ಅವ್ರು ಅಟ್ರಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಇರ್ತೀರ, ಯಾರಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಒಬ್ರು ವೋಟ್ ಹಾಕಲೇಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದಾಗ ನೀವು ಬೇಜಾರಾಗಿದೆ. ಯು ವಾಂಟ್ ಟು ವೋಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ನೋಬಡಿ, ನನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಮ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಅಬೌವ್ ನೋಟ, ನನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ಅಬೌವ್ ನೋಟ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬಂದಂಗಾಯ್ತು? ಯಾವ ಗೆಲ್ತಾನೆ ಅವ್ನು ಇದ್ದೇ ಗೆಲ್ತಾನೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ರೀತಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ರಾಜಕೀಯ ಪಕ್ಷಗಳು ಎಚ್ಚೆತ್ತುಕೊಳ್ತವೆ. ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಇನ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಕ್ಯಾಂಡಿಡೇಟ್ಸ್ಗೆ ವೋಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಪ್ಪ, ನೋಟ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅಪಮಾನ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಇವ್ರ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ. ಭಾಳ ಕಲ್ಪನೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಬಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಟಿಕೆಟ್ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಮಗ ಮೊಮ್ಮಗ ಸೊಸೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದು ನೋಟ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬೀಳಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಬೀಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದೇ. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಇದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟ್ರಿವಿಯಲ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಟ್ಟಿದೆ. ವೋಟ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ರೆ ಏನು ಬಂದಂಗಾಯ್ತು. ಎನಿವೆ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದಿ ರಾಸ್ಕಲ್ಸ್ ಇಸ್ ಕೆಂಪಿದೆ, ನೀವು ವೋಟ್ ಆದ. ನಂಬರ್ 2, ಕೆಲವು ಅಸೆಂಬ್ಲಿ ಎಲೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಟಾಗಿ ಬಿದ್ದಂತ 1020 ವೋಟು ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ, ಆಶ್ ಬಂದವರಿಗೆ ಇದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ನೋಟ ಹಾಕ್ತಾರೆ ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ನಾನು ಜೈಲಿಗೆ ಹೋಗೋದು ನಿಜ, ಅದೇ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತು, ನಾನು ಸಿಗರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಹೋಟು ಬರ್ತೈತೆ. ಆವಾಗ ನೋಟಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಹೋಟಲ್ಲಿ ಆಶ್ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಇದು ಹಾರ್ಮ್ಲೆಸ್, ನಿರುಪಯುಕ್ತ ಸಂದೇಶ ಆಫ್ ಇಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಲ್ ರಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ಸ್. ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್, ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡೋದು ಭಾಳ ಡೇಂಜರಸ್ ವ್ಯವಹಾರ. ಆವಾಗಲೇ ಮಾಡಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಈಗ ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಬಿಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ನೀವು ಆಂಟಿ ಎಸಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ನೀವು ಆಂಟಿ ಲಿಂಗಾಯತ್ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಆಂಟಿ ಕುರುಬ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಆಂಟಿ ಗೌಡ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಅಥವಾ ಸನಾತನಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಸೆಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಮೌಲ್ವಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನೀವು ಕಾನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈಗ ನೀವು ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಡಿಬೇಟು ಗೊಂದಲ, ವಾವೆಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಎಚ್ಚರಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಹೇಗೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸಲ ನಾನು ಕಲಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ಟೈಮ್ ಇದೆ.
ಇಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಂವಿಧಾನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅದರ ಒಂದು ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ನೀಡಿದಂತಹ ಸರ್ದಾರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮ